This is the AEM wideband. Supposed to open this one way up, can't remember. The other way up, I think. This is my first ever internet unboxing video. So, boom. That is automotive pornography right there. This is the very stuck. The issue is having awesome things. Don't have to unlock it, alright. Let's go to the other end of the box now. So, in the AEM wideband box, you get AEM sticker, wideband. So, this goes in your exhaust manifold, or the downpipe once you've got a turbo. So, it looks very similar to the one that's there. So basically, it just sends, it's a more detailed signal. So I think the other signal is just on and off. So it's narrow band. Whereas this is a wideband. So it sends the ECU more information. Then the ECU can make adjustments to how much fuel is being applied based on that. So you need this if you're going turbo, because the ECU needs a lot more information about what is going on with the engine. So this is the actual thing. Comes with a little plug. Nice and simple. Talking like I know what I'm doing. I've never done this before, but we'll have a go. So this plugs into that, which sends the signal to the gauge itself. So I believe this plugs in the back of the gauge. This also comes off the gauge, and this is the output. And then you have all these various outputs. I think there's so many because you can use some as a narrowband gauge. So you could use this as a narrowband gauge and just have, so you've got a gauge in the car so you can see what the mixtures are. And then some are for wideband gauges. So I've got to plug this all in and then take that and then splice it into, I believe, the signal that's already going to the ECU from the original narrowband gauge. You just attach one of these wires to that, and then the ECU will get the signal. What else have we got? Instructions. I think you have to program a lot of this into the ECU, depending on what type of ECU you've got. And then, there we are. The gauge itself, which is currently stuck until I unbolt it. And the gauge itself. Boom. Let's go wire this up to a cigarette lighter, positive from the boom.
So now I'm wiring in the AEM wideband. Here it is. So this mess of wires, there's two inputs in the back. So this is the output for the ECU and the input for power, etc. And the other one that plugs into the actual wideband itself. So, being at Exocet, there's 100 million unused MX5 wires. The problem is, as you can see, I wrapped everything, because in the UK we have an IVA test, so you can't have loose wires and coupling, so everything's wrapped up and cable tied, and I'd have to pull it all apart to trace wires to figure out where is like the output from the, like for the cigarette lighter, the auxiliary cigar lighter as Mazda call it. So, because I was too lazy to do all these things, I might do that in the future. All I did, I put one of these little jumpers on the cigar lighter point, running that, blah blah blah. It will be insulated and wrapped and safe and blah blah blah, but as you can see, it's going into the loom. And then the earth, I just attached it to another earthing point on the car. Nice and simple. I'll tape it up and tidy it up once I've figured out how best to route it. And then, obviously, nothing plugged in, but with the gauge, you want it to only power when the ignition's on. So, because if it powers all the time, then it'll wear the battery. So, if I turn on the ignition, boom, the sensor comes on. So it's getting power. So that's step one. Step two is to figure out how to mount it. So this is the wiring tray I made. So it's just an aluminium tray. And when I made it, I designed it, and I specifically measured it. This is how actually quite good forethought. Not so good on the wiring, but good here. So that this is a big enough gap for gauges, because I wanted to run a selection of gauges. Probably just wideband and boost for now, but maybe oil temp and water temp in the future. But yeah, so what I need to do now is go off to the local store and buy a hole saw that's going to make a big enough hole for this gauge. And I know just the car to take because it's quite a nice day. My wife shouted at me. I've used a lovely hole saw, cut a hole. Hopefully a gauge will fit pretty spot on. Just give it a little try. Look at that. Beautiful fit. Boom. I've got to remove the narrow band. So this one, it looks pretty new because it is pretty new. I changed it when I was putting the exhaust together for getting it running for the first time. It's relatively cheap, the standard one, and it seemed sensible to change it out so then it was never an issue if that was one of the things that was working or not. So what I've got to do is undo it. Now, the old one, when I was rebuilding the car for the get it working naturally aspirated, to remove the old one was a bit of a pain. I had to kind of chop the end off with an angle grinder and get a big socket over the top just to get leverage to remove it. But I'm hoping, because this is relatively new and hasn't been seized in for years, it will be easy to just do with a big old adjustable wrench. We shall see. So it's loose, so just got to unplug it. So my wiring is a little bit of a mess compared to an MXY. If I've got it tucked here, this will be tidied up. I think it's simply this connection here. And I just got to cut this cable tight. That'll free it up. Oh, and I've got a clip here holding it in place so it didn't touch the exhaust. Undo those two, and it will be free. So the old gauge is out. Time to put the wideband in. Find the hole. I will tighten it into it, don't worry. So I run the wire to go to the wideband. Over here, terrible filming. So I've run the wire through this rubber grommet I've got here, there, and hopefully these two just click together. Go, satisfying click. I'll probably just cable tie this out of the way for now. So we'll have a different manifold, obviously, with the turbo, etc. So there's no point worrying about it too much at the moment. Just the routing, and it's touching the frame. It's not ideal, but it'll be in a slightly different spot when it's attached to the downpipe from the turbo. So that'll do for now. So the kind of instructions say about wiring the ECU. So you have the cable coming out, and this gets the power and the earth. Also has this white wire, which is the signal wire that goes to the ECU. So the instructions say to run it all the way down here to where the old narrowband input was over there, and then it'll get the signal. But obviously it's like completely unnecessary. It's just, it helps to avoid wiring. So what I did to avoid pulling all this wiring apart is I've got a wiring diagram, had a look at which input was which directly on the ECU itself. I figured out this blue one, that's the was the narrowband, now the wideband input. So I've wired it directly to there, and then it'll hopefully just plug in or not. Nice click. Beautiful. So that's connected directly there, and that goes to the gauge. Obviously this is a complete mess, but hopefully by the end of this video it will look tidied away and kind of sorted. We shall see. Hopefully it'll be working in a minute. So now I have to tell the ECU what the signals from the wideband mean. So basically the wideband sends a voltage. You can see in this chart here. Here it says along the bottom O2 raw. So this is a voltage signal that it sends to the ECU. So you have to tell it what each voltage means in terms of the air-fuel ratio. So you literally just go along these boxes here. You type in, 3 volts is 14.44. You tell the ECU, program is in, makes a nice chart, and then flash it to the ECU, and then it knows what the signal from the wideband actually means. And then hopefully in the next video we'll be trying to get the engine to start. I think that means it's ready. So let's see if we can get it to start. Just heating up again. There we go. We've got an air-fuel mixture. It's kind of roughly where it should be, I think. Seems to be idling nicely. Obviously, it's cold at the moment. So the wideband is in. Seems to be working. Does idle like shit at the moment, to be honest. I contacted Motorsports Electronics. They tried to give me some advice. So the advice seems to be that you need to get it tuned because it's a very conservative map to get it running really, really nicely. So it's got crap idle at the moment, but it's running. The wideband's in. It's got the signal. The ECU's getting the signal. So it feels like a step in the right direction towards running a turbo. In the next video, hopefully, it's probably going to be fuel injectors. I think taking the inlet off. Job I really don't want to do. But I think one of my current old school MX-5 fuel injectors has a leak, so it'd be good to change them out anyway, and got some interesting new fuel injectors going. If you like the video, please subscribe and join the Exocet Owners Facebook group. We'd be glad to have you. Thank you. Stay tuned for the next part.